Priscilla, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, it's been long overdue, and I'm really, really excited to introduce my audience to a new guest of the show. But before we even get started and really diving deep into our conversation, for anyone who's meeting you for the first time, let them know who is Priscilla Quezada.
I love this question because I'm so many things. But to start off, I'm Latina, Dominican American. I'm from New York, Upper Manhattan, Washington Heights. That's what I rep. Although I was born in the Bronx, but I grew up there and then I've moved around a lot. I am powerful. I am a fearless. I am a leader. I am a trailblazer. I am founder of Powerful Authentic Queen, which is an online space that we empower women who have been sexually abused and gone through domestic violence to reclaim their power after trauma.
Oof. And that's why I gravitated towards you. I don't know really how we connected. I don't remember, but I saw your profile and what it stood for. And a lot of my listeners know about my past and how I'm a domestic violence survivor. And I saw that you are one as well, and just different forms of abuse that you've survived from. And I really just love to highlight women and men too, but really women who have gone through some really traumatic shit in their life and have been able to turn that pain and that trauma into something beautiful, which is not easy. And we're definitely going to dive deep into your story and what you went through. For every guest that comes on the show, I always like to start off with childhood and asking them, what did life look like for you growing up?
Well, first of all, I can totally tell you how we met. I follow your sister. I know she has a podcast as well.
Okay,
And you
yeah.
shared your story on there. And I was just like, oh my God. So I sent an email and I think probably a DM and all that stuff. Thank you, because I know that's tough to talk about. So again, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing. So my childhood. So like I said, I'm from New York, Upper Manhattan, Washington Heights. That's where I was growing up. And I was sexually abused at a really young age, at the age of 5, which caused for me and my brothers, I have 3 brothers, to get placed in the foster care system, New York City foster care system. And girl, that alone is super traumatic. so
I couldn't even imagine.
and then even in the foster care system, my brothers and I were placed in a foster home together. And then after that, they separated us. So just for me, it kept getting worse and worse and worse. So it was just I'm being taken away from what home is. Not only me, but me and my brothers. And now that's my sense of home is my brothers. And now I'm being stripped away from that. And I'm being placed in a home that this is going to be my new home, but it's not home. I went through that. And then luckily for me, my grandmother became my legal guardian. So I was raised by my grandmother and my father. But even in my upbringing, I grew up around a lot of just toxic environments and seeing toxic relationships and seeing domestic violence with women in my family, especially close women. So it's just I grew up seeing that. And then once I started dating, because I didn't know what healthy love looked like, right? Because I really didn't have an example of that. And even now reflecting back on my childhood, the only example that I do have of a beautiful union, a beautiful marriage is my aunt and uncle. I thank them for that all the time. Girl, when I'm telling you, I've never seen them fight, I've never seen them fight. I think it's such a beautiful thing that you guys are able to have your disagreements and stuff. And the whole world doesn't need to know it, or you guys don't disrespect each other, right? I thank them for that because I'm it is possible. But as a child, I didn't grow up seeing that really. My close environments were toxic and I saw a lot of disrespect and just not healthy love, no healthy boundaries or anything like that. So like I said, that translated into me dating. And then I found myself in these domestic violence relationship and just really toxic relationships. And it's just I've always been, because of my childhood experience and in the environments I grew up, it's you tend to go into people pleasing, right? Because it's I'm always aware of other people's emotions and how they're reacting because maybe I have to be the mediator because that's what I had to do when I was a child. So it was just a lot of people pleasing and being in these toxic relationship and kind of wanting to heal them and fix them. And it's just girl, first of all, you can't fix people. They have to want to do it themselves. It went to that. And then it wasn't until my last serious relationship that I was just okay, no, I'm done with this. What is it about me that I have to fix to start loving myself and not tolerate less and not tolerate this abuse? Because it's just I remember as a little girl, I would be like, that's never going to be me. That's never going to be me. I'm going to be like in a loving like relationship, and my partner's going to respect me, and we're going to have like this beautiful union. And it's just like, that's not what I was having. So I was like, okay, we got to do something. We got to make it work, because the trauma stops with me. Like, I refuse to like pass it on. I refuse to like keep repeating the same cycles. So that's when I really like got intentional about my healing, and it led me to like the work that I'm doing, which led me to starting Powerful Authentic Queen. Because I'm like, okay, for me it stems back into like little Priscilla, like the one that got like sexually abused at such a young age. And my whole life I've had to like survive. It was just constant like survival mode. So I'm like, I'm tired of that. Like, I want to like just be happy and wake up like, excited and have healthy, loving relationships around me, like whether they're romantic or friendships. So yeah, I'm like, that's how Powerful Authentic Queen came about. And now like my mission is to like share my story, but also like help empower women that have gone through those experiences to know that you are worthy of those healthy boundaries, and loving yourself to the point that you're not tolerating those toxic relationships. And honestly, girl, coming from my family, sometimes those toxic relationships are immediate family members that you need to cut off in order to have a better life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And first of all, thank you for sharing that, because it's interesting to hear other people's stories who have gone through similar situations like I have when it comes to domestic violence. Because for like me, when I think back to my childhood, my upbringing was the complete opposite of yours. My parents, they're still together. Their 41st wedding anniversary is tomorrow, and they're vacationing in Puerto Rico, which is where they're from and where they met. And of course, couples, they fight, but I never saw violence growing up. I never grew up around that type of environment. So it's not something that I was used to. Honestly, for me, I never even knew what domestic violence was until after my last relationship, which was almost 2 years ago. So to hear your perspective that it's the complete opposite and it's something that was quote unquote normal to you, it's interesting. And I love hearing other people's stories and perspectives, because it just goes to show anyone who's listening, anyone who's watching on YouTube, that like this can affect anybody. It doesn't matter your upbringing. It doesn't matter your background, your religion, what's in your bank account. Like, it does not matter. It affects everyone. And it's so interesting to see how our stories are so different, but yet we still attracted that type of toxicity in our romantic relationships. And something that you said that really stuck out to me was like, you got to the point that it was like, enough is enough, and I need to break the cycle. And the only person who can do that is me. And the same thing for me. Like I said, I didn't see that growing up, but I was in these very toxic type of relationships because I didn't have that value or that self worth within myself. I was always searching for that in someone else, when really the relationship that I needed to focus on, which is the one that I neglected the most, was the relationship with Leanne. And I'm sure you can agree with that. Yes.
Girl, you're giving me chills. I'm like, ooh,
Yes.
preach, talk that talk, girl.
Yes. It's so interesting. So, yeah, I know you talked a little bit about it, but I would love for you to really share how those relationships started. What kind of scenarios did you go through? And what was your moment that you realized, I can't fucking do this anymore? Like, the change needs to happen.
Well, it goes back to, like you said, I was searching for that love, right? Like outside of me. And I will be completely transparent and honest with you. It was always like searching for that love in a man as well, because I grew up like Dominican. Like my dad's like a man's man, and like you could say like maybe like machismo like plays into that and stuff. And my dad's not the most loving man. So like even till this day, for my dad to say I love you is like very like I love you, like very like mumbled under his breath. So it's just like I always wanted that. I always wanted that love from like my father, like or just like that male figure, right? Because I felt like that trust that like okay, I can rely on a I guess an older man was broken by when I was sexually abused. I was sexually abused by a man that was living in my home, that I thought would never hurt me, that I thought was like there to protect the family and stuff. And it's just like,
And that's the thing too. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like a lot of the abuse that happens to us, it's more often than not, someone that we know, someone that we loved, someone that we trust. It's not like what we see on the TV or movies, like a fucking stranger pops out and like kidnaps you. Yes, that does happen, but it's so fucked up to think that like the people that we really care about and we think, like you said, is not going to hurt us, it ends up being the ones who do hurt us, and that fucks with our trust, and that carries on into our adult life. It's so fucked up. I just want to say I'm so sorry that that happened to you. I don't know what that feels like because I've never experienced anything like that, but I do have listeners who have had those similar experiences. I'm so sorry that you experienced that, and yeah, I'll let you continue.
You're gonna make me cry. Shed gangster tears over here.
Crying is gangster too, okay?
Oh, no. So it's just like I wanted like my dad. I mean, and as a kid, I didn't voice that because it came to the point that like I feared my dad. My dad was, now that I'm old, I'm able to understand more, right? Like how he was maybe like burned out from like working. Cause that's one thing. My dad's probably one of the hardest working men I have ever known. Like that man was working like 3 jobs at one point to be able to have a roof over my head and make sure that I never missed a meal and make sure that I had like clothes on my back. But it was just like I wanted daddy's love. Like I just wanted to like be able to like talk to my dad. And I didn't have that because again, my dad's not the most loving man and he was very strict, and it got to the point that he also got like super explosive. So I was afraid to like talk to him because I didn't know how he was going to react. And it was that like putting feelers out, like, and there was times that he would come home and I would just stay in my room like with the door shut. But what helped my relationship with men is the fact that I do have 3 brothers. Like, I love my brothers to death. Like, those are my homies, those are my OGs, those are my goons. Like, so I'm able to have like a better relationship just when it comes to like that male perspective because of my brothers. And we're able to like have the conversations that maybe I wouldn't have with my dad or like other men. And even us, like, we all have our own trauma, but I think we've done pretty good being able to learn how to heal that. And we're still going through it, right? Because again, because we were broken up from our home, we all grew up in different environments. And then within all those different environments, girl, there's just so much toxic, like they have their own stories. So yeah, it was me searching for that, and then that led to like obviously like searching that like elsewhere. But it wasn't until my last relationship, and that relationship was like a 4-year relationship, and I was just like, I'm done. And I remember I was like crying. I was sitting in like the middle of the living room, dark. It was like pitch black, and I was just like crying. Like I just felt so tired, and I felt this constant heaviness on me. And I'm like, I'm tired. I'm tired of people pleasing. I'm tired of not like being happy. I'm tired of being like trying to be the perfect daughter and the perfect girlfriend and the perfect sister and the perfect this. And it's just like I don't feel happy deep down in here. Like I'm miserable and I'm sad, and I don't want to feel like this anymore. And then that relationship too just wasn't going anywhere, so it's like, what are we doing? So I ended it. And then that's when I was like, I don't want to have to like date a guy until I heal me. Like I need to like work on Priscilla and love on Priscilla and know what like self-love is and self-worth.
The journey that I'm on right now, girl. I'm like specifically taking myself out of the dating scene. I'm going on 2 years of celibacy. Like, I'm so focused on Leanne because I know, being in a relationship, especially coming out of the types that we were in, of course there's like this level of fear that like what if it happens again, but also like just being in a relationship in general, it's fucking exhausting. And when you're so used to being the people pleaser and pouring into others and not getting that back in return, absolutely I felt the same way too. Like I was fucking drained. And even before the relationship that I was in, you were in one for 4 years. The last one was 10 months. And then the one before that was 8.5 years on and off. And I never really like took a break to heal in between those two relationships. I had like my little hoe phase and like just acting out and doing shit that like hiding and numbing out from the pain of actually going through a breakup and not really facing it. But now this is the first time in my life where I've actually faced those inner shadows, that ugly side of Leanne, and that's where the healing has started. But a lot of people like to run away from that, and that's why a lot of people don't like to do the work because it's fucking uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable and so ugly. And I mean, I don't know how you were raised, but like being raised with Dominican parents and immigrant parents, right? Immigrant parents at that, they're like, I had worse. So you better toughen up, like, porque tú estás llorando. And even with that, I'm like, I hated when I would hear that as a kid because it's like, you're yelling at me. And I'm like petrified that I know you're going to hit me. And you're like, porque tú estás llorando? Yo no te he dado para que tú llores. And you're like, so the only reason I could cry is if you harm me physically? Like, make it make sense because it doesn't.
Yeah, that's such a common theme, especially in our communities too. I'm of Puerto Rican descent, and I feel like now being on this healing journey, I don't hold as much resentment to our lineage before, like our parents and grandparents and things like that, because like they pretty much were living in survival mode. They were definitely not thriving. They did not have the resources that we luckily have now in our generation, and they only knew what they knew. So to an extent is like we can understand and we can be compassionate and we can not hold resentment against them because it was a different time for them. But there's also a lot of trauma that is passed down. And we are the ones, I'm going to be 35 this year. Like, we're really the ones that's like, we're breaking that generational trauma. But it's fucking exhausting. It's so exhausting and it's so ghetto.
I love it. It's so ghetto.
It's so ghetto. I say it all the time on my podcast. Healing is ghetto as fuck, but if you really want to make it happen, like you have to go through that journey.
I'll tell you this. It's just because I feel like I've been on the healing journey maybe a little longer, and it is ghetto, girl. Like, I won't take that away. It's uncomfortable. It's ugly. It's nasty. It's not like a beautiful journey. You do have to get super uncomfortable with yourself, right? But once you start healing and you start setting those boundaries, and you like, there's just a different level of you that kind of like unlocks, and it's just like, and that love, and for me it's freeing. It's like such a freeing feeling that's why I'm like so passionate about what I'm doing, because it's like I want every woman to feel this. Like, I want you to feel like that self-love, and when you set those boundaries and when you do the healing work and you go through the ugly part, like, I promise you it gets better, and it's such a beautiful feeling. And it's just like you even start showing up differently. Like, I have a lot of friends and family that are like, Priscilla, like, you're radiating, like, you are light. And I'm like, well, thank you, because bitch, I've been working hard at this.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. Thank you for the flowers.
exactly. And I love the fact that like my energy is that, right? Because that's what I want to be. I want to be love and I want to be light. And I've always been like that, even as a kid. Like, I've never been about like injustice and bullying. Girl, as a little kid, and even to this day, like, I see bullying and stuff, like, I get in the middle of it. Like, people are like, you're crazy. You're going to get like fucked up one of these days. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, it's just something takes over. But growing up in the environments that I grew up, I felt like it was so like weak, right? Like, you're so weak for wanting to be lovey-dovey and like love and like and not fight and not like constantly like be yelling and stuff. And it's just like, and even till this day, one of my brothers is like, yeah, assholes live forever, like gang gang, all this other stuff. And I'm like, no, peace and love. And he's like, get out of here with your like peace and love. But I'm like, no, like, that's the energy that I want to like carry and I want to show, and I want people to feel that. So when people do tell me that and I'm like, I love that because I'm working hard towards that and that's what I want. So
I love that so much. And that's the perfect segue to the next question that I want to ask you, because like you said, the healing journey can unlock a new being that's been trapped inside of us, and it can be beautiful and it can be uplifting and radiating for others. But there's also a dark side and a lot of fucked up feelings that you can experience, especially as a trauma survivor. And I know for me, there was a lot of shame, there was a lot of anger. Sometimes there still is. I'm not perfect, no one is. And I do have my moments when I'm just like, fuck, am I reverting back to the old Leanne? And I know I'm not, but in that moment, it's like, all right, guilt, sadness, all of these feelings that can come up. So, what would be a piece of advice for someone who's listening, as someone who has gone through trauma? How can they navigate through those negative feelings when they come up?
grace. Show yourself grace. And I know that sounds like so simple, and people are like, everybody says that, but honestly, it's true. Because first of all, I mean, thank you for admitting that. And same, I still get days where maybe I feel heavy and I'm like, self-doubt kicks in, right? Like, am I worthy of this? And even like when you start showing up differently, like you start attracting different things. And even in my career, right? Like, and being an entrepreneur, like reaching different levels of just like finance and stuff. It's just like different levels in life, right? And it's just like, am I worthy of this? Am I deserving of this? And it's just like you start questioning yourself, and it's just like show yourself grace through those moments. And I'll be completely transparent. I will not lie. Like during this healing journey, there was days that I'm just like, I'm done. Like, and I've had thoughts of like, maybe it'd be better if I wasn't here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have had depression to that extent. And it's just like, and I also come from a family that depression runs deep in my family. So it's just really, really like being loving towards yourself and showing yourself grace. And when you do have those moments, I think it's really important, one, to like surround yourself with people that are going to love you and love you when you don't even love yourself, right? And pour back into you and fill your cup. And something I want to share in the healing journey, it was just like, because I've always had to do it alone, even with this, I was like, I have to do it alone. Like nobody can help me. And I remember one of my cousins was like, you're making me feel like my love and my help is not good enough. Like you're rejecting it. It's like, be accepting to this love. And it was just like, honestly, she told me that and I was like, because like she was trying to hold my hands and I was just like this. Like I wasn't even like embracing her. I wasn't like, she's like, embrace the love, like be open to it. So I think it's that, like allow the people that want to love you and pour back into you, like allow that. And I know in that it feels shameful because sometimes you're like, no, maybe I'm not deserving of it, or maybe you're not wanting to. I'm the type of person that when I'm going through like dark emotions, I seclude myself. I get very like
Me too,
isolate.
girl.
Yeah, because I don't want to bring out the negative energy and affect everybody else. But it's just like at that moment, I do need the help and I do need the love. And it's like being okay and being like, yeah, even if it's just like, hey, come over and sit with me. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, just sit with me. And I want to know that your presence is here and that your love is here. And like, just have that emotional support. So, community and affirming yourself. Like, girl, I still affirm myself. Like, yes, I am a powerful, authentic queen. Yes, I am worthy. Yes, I am a CEO. Yes, I am a founder. Yes, I am like a trailblazer. Yes, I am like paving the way. I am a generational trauma blocker. Like, I'm breaking those curses. Yes, I am creating generational wealth and just affirming myself every day, every day, every day, or anytime that I need to. Journaling, meditating, breath work. Oh my God, therapy. My therapist, I tell her she's my earth angel on earth. Like, that lady, oh,
I love that so much. And it's so interesting because yesterday I recorded a podcast panel in person with three other women, including myself. And we were just talking about self love and relationships and healing and all of that. And shout out to Lisa. She was on my podcast as a solo guest as well. She said this analogy that has really stuck with me. And I'm going to start using it too because it was so good. When you were talking about like the accepting of help and love from others, especially trauma survivors, like we're used to putting up this wall, or like Lisa called it, this fence. And there's a difference between like a fence and a gate. And
mm,
when she said that, I was like, oh shit. If you really think about it, like a fence is like a hard stop. You're not getting through. Like, that's it. We're setting that boundary and you cannot fucking get through. As opposed to having a gate that you are able to control and open just a little bit. And then if you want to close it again, that's perfectly fine. But then the next day, it's like, all right, I can open it a little bit more and be able to receive that help and that love and that affection and all of that, but also making sure that you're protecting yourself in the same experience. I think that analogy was so beautiful. And I just wanted to share that with y'all because, like, when it comes to accepting that love from community, I'm so big on community too. Like, my whole healing journey, the type of people that I have connected with has been so healing for myself, but it can also be scary because, yeah, we do have these trust issues. We do have these triggers that come up, but it's okay to like receive. It's okay to like ask for help. And it's not you being vulnerable. It's not like you being weak, like something like you said that was not normal for us growing up. Like, it's okay to ask for help, y'all. It is okay. That is your fucking superpower.
that's how I even started with like my healing journey, was like, okay, I know that I want to feel better, but I don't know how to do this on my own because like, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I start? So it was literally reconnecting with my therapist. And even with that, I want to say, because I know there's a lot of people that have tried therapy, or like I say a lot now because I'm with the work that I'm doing. So I hear, but although therapy is still very taboo in like certain cultures and right in our society, I remember like because of what happened to me when I was younger, like, so I've always been in therapy. Like, my dad and my grandmother placed me in therapy. And I remember I used to go to therapy and I would hate it, girl. Like, I'm like, this isn't helping me. Like, I'm going and you're wanting me to talk. Like, I'm not wanting to talk. And I used to get so angry. But it wasn't until I found like my therapist now that I've been with for like the past couple of years. I found her at UCF, the University of Central Florida. Go Knights. And when I met her and I think it was maybe like the third session, it like clicked. And I was just like, oh my God, where has she been my entire life? Like, this is the lady that I've needed. I say that because I want people to feel encouraged to like try different therapists. Like, don't give up. Don't give up on that. Cause I know, again, people might try it and they're like, oh, it's not doing anything for me. Like, it's not helping. It's just like, try different therapists and even try different modalities. But for me, it was that my therapist. So reconnecting to her, I was like, I found her because after I had graduated, I kind of lost connection. I was searching on LinkedIn. I was searching everywhere for this lady. I'm like, I know I have to have her contact information. So then I finally found it and I reached out. And that's how I started the healing journey. I just started like going to therapy again. And then after that, even in therapy, she introduced different modalities like EMDR and different things that we do. And then with that, I started introducing like journaling every day and even like meditating and gratitude and breath work. Even with breath work, like at first I was like, what is this? Like, it's not going to do anything. And the first time I was like, but I kept trying it. And now I'm like, okay, I see what it does. It's definitely worked. And I implement all those things. That's all part of the healing journey. So I love sharing that because I want people to know it's not just one thing, or maybe it is for you, but like be open and be okay if it's not. And you have to go to therapies and journal and meditate and work out and like all the things that are going to make you feel good and show up like just better and happier in the world.
I love that so much. And while you were talking, a thought popped in my head. It was like, so y'all will stay in these toxic relationship and give this man or this woman who's abusing you, lying to you, cheating on you, you're going to give them chance after chance after chance. But when it comes to focusing on the relationship with yourself, you're going to neglect that and you're going to try out a therapist and it didn't work out. And then you're going to say, fuck it. No more chances. You know what I'm saying? Like, make it fucking make
Ooh.
sense. Like, hey, I got to call some people out because that was me too. I had that same mindset that, like, therapy is for crazy people and I don't need fucking help. Bitch, yes, you did. You absolutely needed fucking help. But everyone's journey is different and that's fine. But just be open minded and being open to receiving the help because there's so much out there that we now, as millennials and Gen Zers, like we have so many more resources compared to what our parents had. And it's like, just fucking try something. You don't have to be like, oh no, this is just who I am. And no, no, babe. Everyone needs some help. Everyone needs something. And it's up to you to make that shit happen at the end of the day. But there are resources out there. So thank you for sharing that. I know you talked about it a little bit before, but talk about your business, Powerful Authentic Queen. And why did you decide to go public with your story? And why do you think it's healing for us to talk about the shit that we've gone through?
So I was in a business. I joined like a business program. Even my business coach at the time, she's like, you surprised the fuck out of me when you were like, I want to start a business empowering women. She's like, I thought you were going to be like, oh, I want to expand my real estate business with like my brothers, something else, like all the other things that I was doing because I'm a hustler. So I'm always working on more than one project. But honestly, it was like even during the healing journey, I was just like, it's been so enlightening for me that, again, I wanted to share this with the world because it's just like, I know I'm not the only one that was feeling like this. And because I know that through the work that I'm doing and being able to connect with other women and like talk about these, right? And sharing our stories, there's healing power in that. And it's just like, it's knowing that you're not alone. And for such a long time, girl, like I felt that. I felt alone. I felt like, why am I feeling like this? Why am I having these thoughts? Like, why am I feeling like maybe I'm not worthy of good love? And even in the healing journey, when I meet somebody that does have healthy boundaries and has love, and I'm like, do I know how to like receive this? Because I'm not used to this. And it's going to feel awkward, right? Because we're used to the toxic and having to like prove ourselves. literally that's what drives me. Like, I want women to know, like, you're not alone. And like, the more conversations I have and the more like I connect with women, and even outside of the United States, girl, like, one of my goals for my business is to have resources within all states in the United States, right? Because it's a problem that happens in the United States, but it's also a global problem. And even when you go outside of the United States, women's rights are different. So women that are in domestic violence relationship that can't do anything, because guess what? They don't care over there. They're like, you're a woman and that's what you do, and you just gotta listen to your husband. Maybe you should listen a little better so that way he won't hit you. What kind of fucked up shit is this? So that's why I'm like super passionate about it now. It's like a fire inside of me. I'm ready
I
to,
could feel it. I
yeah,
could
I'm
feel
like,
it.
I'm ready to take on the world and be like, no, this is not okay. Like, we need to heal collectively, like, as a world. We need to heal and we need to do better, because this is not okay. And that's why generational trauma just keeps being passed down. I mean, and even with trauma alone, it goes into cultural. That's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
I love everything that you're saying, and I really feel like talking about it and speaking up is the first step into creating a change, and having these types of conversations and having guests like you come on to share their full truth. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here, because I know this is going to heal someone. I know this is going to help someone. It's healing me. Shit. I'm like, yo, I feel like the empowerment within you. Yes, we need more of this, especially in our society, like Latinas, people of color. We need these type of people to take up these spaces. So shout out to us for doing this work.
Yes, girl, yes.
Now I want to ask a question that I haven't really asked a lot of people when it comes to domestic violence, but it's like the outsiders, the friends who see what's going on and they're not really sure how they can help that person who is experiencing this abuse. What would you say are some good first steps that you would recommend for the outside people to give support to someone who's experiencing the things that we've gone through?
I think it's just being there, right? Because sometimes people get worked up wanting to help you, and then they might get upset if you go back, right? If you go back to that relationship, and then it's like, ah, bueno, pues entonces te gusta lo que te está pasando. Like, you like what? And it's just like, again, being in domestic violence, like, I'd be lying if I said that the first domestic violence relationship I learned from it. Like, I did a podcast a couple of days ago and she was like, how many relationships did it take you? And I was like, honestly, probably like 4. And I went from one shitty relationship to a shittier relationship. You know what I mean? So it's just like, so for people outside, just be patient and just be there, because that's what we need at that moment. Like, we don't need, like, if I'm sharing something with you, it's just like, in a way, that's like the first step of like asking for help. It's just like, let me share this with somebody. But it's also, I don't want to feel shamed if I do stay in this relationship, or I don't know how to get out of it, or I don't know like what to do. And I don't want to feel like you're judging me for that. So it's just like, for the people that are around, like, just hold space and be compassionate and be patient, and just know that, be like, hey, if you need me, like, I'm here for you. And be like that safe space. Just offer that. Be like, I'm here for you. And if you need help, like, I'm here to help you. And just genuinely like mean that. I think that's really the first step and important, because you're not going to leave the relationship until you're ready to leave it. Because, girl, the last relationship, like my worst relationship, it wasn't until like we got into a bad fight, and it got to the point that we had a dog at the time, and the dog bit me. So I, like, literally on one of my booty cheeks, I have like the scarred tissue from that. And at that moment, that's when I was like, I need to get out, because one of us is going to end up dead and it's not going to be me. So that's when I was just like, something's got to give. I need to do. And even with that, after I left that, then I was just very angry, and I was like, fuck, guys.
It's part of the whole journey, and people don't really understand it until they're in it. And that's why, like, I can hold space for you, because I felt that same exact way. And I'm glad that you brought up the being patient part, because a statistic that I came across when researching around domestic violence as being an advocate and survivor, it's like the average number of times it takes a victim to permanently leave is 7 times. So, like, yeah, it might not be the idea that, like, the first time it gets violent, she's just going to leave, or he's just going to leave, because it happens to men too, not as often as we talk about, but primarily for women, a lot of times it's not easy, and it's scary when we do leave, because that's when the abuse can get even fucking worse. That's when the stalking happens. Like, that's when death can happen when they decide to leave. So to have this narrative around, oh, why is she staying? It couldn't be me. That's definitely the mentality that I have before I found myself in those types of relationships. It's like, yo, it's so much deeper than what you realize. And you really don't know until you personally are in it, or someone very close to you is in that situation. So just be fucking patient and just be like, yo, I got you. Whatever you need, I got you.
Absolutely. And it even takes me back to, like I said, I grew up seeing women in domestic violence relationship, and I even see those women. And even as a little girl, I'd be like, why are you staying, right? And I didn't understand it. I'm like, this man's like abusing you and like not making you feel good. And girl, it was to the point that I saw women like get knocked down, and I'm the one calling the cops. Like, I think this person's dead. So it was just like, I didn't get it. And then it's like, once I started like being in those relationships, then it was just like, oh, it's deeper than just that, right? So yeah, again, for me, everything, the healing journey, and even if you're on it, like patience and grace.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so in your bio, you wrote that you're all about self love, self acceptance, and self empowerment. And I love that, the triple S. So tell my audience, what does that mean to you?
It's all about self, right? And then it goes back to like the beginning of this conversation, how you were saying it starts with you. And that's why I'm like, self love, self care, self worth, self acceptance. And it's like you have to learn to love yourself and accept yourself, accept your past, accept not only like your past, but like your parents, right? And just understand where you come from and know that you have to do the work. You really do. Like, you can have other people help you and facilitate you and stuff, but and I even have these conversations when I am talking to people, and I'm like, think about it this way. Like, it's like I have my therapist and I have, but when you're home alone, because that's when it hits us, when we're alone and we're like in those places
Facts.
that like you just feel
When
like
you about to go to sleep or you taking a shower, that's when them shits be
that
hitting.
shower part, girl. There was times when
That
I'm like,
shower.
or even in the car. Like, there's times that I was just like boo hoo
Hmm.
crying in the car. And even at that moment when you're like by yourself and you're just like, fuck, like I'm tired. I'm tired of this. Maybe like you feel like giving up. Like, at that moment, I want you to know like it starts with you, and you have to love yourself the most at those moments. At those low moments, you have to be like, no, I'm doing this for me because I am worthy of healthy relationships, because I am worthy of being here, because I belong. Although this society loves to make us feel othered and like we don't, you do belong, and you have to affirm yourself with that, and it has to start with that. And you really, really have to believe that, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else, like, they can help facilitate it and pour back into you, but you have to believe in yourself so much. So it starts with you. So that's why I'm like, self-love, self-worth, self-empowerment, like
Yes.
everything.
Girl, you are preaching to the choir. Today is Sunday when we are
Woo!
recording. So, yes, we are in church right now. And I just want to say thank you so much, because I say this shit all the time on my podcast. And I feel like I'm repetitive with the shit that I say, but it's like, yo, I am not the only one who is thinking this and saying this. It is so fucking important to focus on the relationship that you have with yourself. That shit will set the tone for every other relationship that comes into your life. And I'm not just talking about the ones where you're in love and you're having sex with this person. No, your family, your career, your friendships, your everything starts and ends with you. And it's so fucking cliche, but it is so true. And I have realized that by taking the time to be in my solitude, to really figure out who the fuck is Leanne without depending on someone else. And I want for more women to prioritize that relationship, because it literally can change your life, but you got to want to make it happen. You have to do the work. It's like that saying, you can bring the horse to the bucket of water, but you can't make him drink, whatever the fuck, how it goes, you know? Like, I'm sure I butchered that, but it's fine. You know what I'm saying?
No, girl, you said it fine. That's how it is.
Yeah. Like, you can't, it's true. You can't make someone do the work. It has to come from within yourself. And I've realized that in the relationships that I was in, like we said before, I felt like I needed to fix him. Like I was going to save him. Like if I just loved him a little bit harder, if I just did what he wanted to do, then things would be okay. But the more that I did that, the more I lost the relationship with Leanne.
My God. Like,
Like, make it make sense.
girl, like just that alone, right? Because same, I'm like, again, it goes back to like the way you're brought up, like family over everything, ride or die, loyalty, like all this stuff, right? And I'm like, I bet. And I mean, until this day, I love very hard. Like the ones that I love, like, yo, I will go to war for the people I love and I care about, like without thinking about it. But it was that, right? Like it was wanting to heal him and help him. And it's just like, oh, if I show him that I'm a ride or die, if I show him that I'm going to be loyal, if I show him that like I'll give him one more chance, then maybe he'll change and maybe he'll start loving me better and maybe he won't hurt me. Like, and even with that, I'm like, he's hurting me because he's hurt and he doesn't know how to like, and I got to be here. And I'm like, girl, but you're losing yourself in the process. Like, are you really going to lose yourself and hurt Priscilla and kill Priscilla, like trying to save somebody else? Like, girl, you're not going to do
Come
anything.
on.
Like,
This is the bitch slap that some of y'all need to hear, okay? We're saying it in the most loving way possible, but please, y'all, for whoever is listening and you feel like after listening to this conversation, it's like, damn, this sounds like something that I'm going through right now. You got some work that you got to do. You need to really start reflecting within yourself, and there needs to be some boundaries. You need to probably put up that fence with that person who's taking advantage of you, who's not treating you the way that you deserve to be treated. But you have to set that tone. You have to set that precedent to be like, I'm not dealing with this bullshit anymore. But the only person who's going to make that happen is you, sis, or bro. Okay?
absolutely. And that goes even with just outside of romantic relationships, like you said. And that's been really hard for me in the healing journey, girl. Cause like again, right? Like family over everything. But it's just like I have to love you from afar right now and love you from a distance because the boundaries that I'm creating and in my circle and in my energy and in my space, we thrive in love and light and effective communications. And we learn how to control our emotions and talk about that instead of reacting. And again, I grew up in environments where that's it. We just react. And you're not understanding what I'm saying with my words. So I'm physically going to make you understand. And it's just like, because some family members are still in that environment, I'm like, oh no, like stiff arm, you know?
Yep, absolutely. And that's probably one of the hardest relationships to really create those boundaries, especially with family, because you feel like blood's thicker than water and I got to just accept this for what it is because they're family. No, family can be fucking toxic too, and they
Absolutely.
can be cut off too. I'm so quick to cut people off nowadays. Like, I don't care if you my bestie from growing up or if like I just met you. If the vibe is off, no, we're not doing it. I'm sorry. My relationship with myself is way more important than dealing with your bullshit. So permission granted for everyone who's listening. If you have a toxic fucking family member, please put that fence up, okay? One day maybe it could be a gate, but right now, I'm focused on me.
I love your energy. I like love everything that you do. But I think that's just like the up northerner in us because I've traveled around and I've gone to different places. And sometimes people are like, you're too assertive, you're too this. And I'm like, you don't understand. It's just you don't get it.
Right,
Like,
right. This is New York and New Jersey over here. So maybe y'all got to come to the Northeast and get this flavor.
absolutely.
Oh, I love this conversation. It's so good. Just a couple more questions before we wrap up. But I want to know, I ask every guest that comes on, you're on the Watch Us Thrive podcast. So tell me your definition of thriving.
Thriving is not being in survival mode, not being like I'm constantly having to guard myself and just be on defense. And again, that comes with work. I would be lying to you if I'm saying sometimes I don't go back into that survival mode. But for me, the healing journey has helped me learn how to thrive and be more like in my feminine energy and show up as like love and light and not always constantly having to be like this alpha female, like Miss Independent. I don't need you. Like I got it on my own. Although I still give that energy, you know, because it's all I know. But it's just that, like waking up and being intentional about my day and being intentional about the things that make me happy and being intentional about the things that are going to fill my cup up. Because this is from Trent Shelton, and I love the fact that he
I
said,
love him so much.
girl,
He's
me
so
too.
good.
I love him. I'm like, I actually like took a course with him, so it just finished. So now I'm like, you better talk to me nice because I just worked with like Trent Shelton. But anyways,
Right.
he says me time makes we time better. And I'm like, it's so true. Like you have to learn how to like just love on you and be intentional about the things that like help you show up just happier, right? Like I remember I used to wake up days and be like, oh my God, like another day, not this again. And it's just like I didn't want to wake up like that. I wanted to wake up and be thankful. Like I get another day. Like thank you for like waking me up and like I'm able to put my feet on the ground and I'm able to share my story and do the work that I do and maybe inspire. Like my thing is like even if I just inspire one woman, one person, then I've done my job. And it's just like that's what I wake up and I'm like wanting to serve. But in order to serve others, I have to serve me and I have to do me like so that's thriving for me, right? Because now I'm able to do that. But again, I'm super intentional about like the things that are gonna help me thrive. And it's just like that's been hard as well because of the people and pleaser in me. Sometimes I want to be like, no, I don't need to do this because I want to help this person out. And it's like, no, you need to help you so you can help her out or him or you know.
Yes.
So
I appreciate that vulnerability and the self-awareness that you have, saying that there are moments where you feel like you are slipping up, but then you're able to catch yourself and be like, "Nah, we're not doing that." I think that is so powerful, and that definitely is thriving because I have those moments too. I'm like, "Fuck," I get triggered by like my daughter or like a situation that's going on, and I'm like, "Damn, I'm going back to the Leanne that I was trying so hard to heal from." But it's like, nah, it's okay. Give yourself that grace, like we talked about before. And then tomorrow's another day. It's a new opportunity to make some small, different changes. So, yeah, I love that definition. Thank you so much for sharing that.
thank you. And I love that you said that because it brings self awareness. And I love hearing you talk about that because it's like, I see that in you. I see that. And the fact that you can be like, okay, no, we're not going to go back to that. You're having that self awareness with yourself. It's just like, it feels comfortable to go back to like what you know, but it's like, no, we're trying to thrive. We're trying to get out of the survival mode. So it's like, it's going to feel uncomfortable, like doing new things and just handling situations differently. So I honor you for that. And I give you your flowers for
Thank
that, girl.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, girl. Oh my gosh, she gonna make me cry, y'all. Stop it. No, I love that. Thank you so much. So now I want to ask, go back to your younger self, whatever age pops up for you, being the woman that you are today, what is one piece of advice you would tell her?
Stop people pleasing. Stop it, girl. Please yourself. Love yourself.
Absolutely. Okay, so now I want to know if you had the opportunity to say something to the people who have hurt you in the past, being who you are today, what would you say to them?
You know, I love that question and it's such a deep question. And I was thinking about it and I still thinking I'm like, what would I say, right? Because I feel like the initial reaction would be like, fuck you, like fuck off, right?
Yes, same.
But then it goes back to like us going back into like our old, and I'm just
Right.
like, no, Priscilla, we're thriving, we're healing.
Mhm.
So I want to say, and honestly, like this is me just being genuinely like I don't hold hate in my heart. I really don't because at the end of the day, that's going to hurt me more than it's hurting you. Carrying that energy is going to hinder me more than it's like hindering you. And I've had to learn that in my healing journey because I'd be lying if I didn't say I was like angry and like hated people and I wanted like bad things to happen to them. But it's just like it wasn't making me feel good. So if I had one thing to say to them, it's just like, I hope you take the healing journey. Like, I hope you open your mind to that. And because at the end of the day, the way you're acting and the way you're reflecting that, portraying that onto other people, how you feel inside and that negative, I hope healing for you. Like, I really wish that because at the end of the day, it's just like that's a learned behavior and you're learning it from somewhere. So it's like, I hope that you're in your lifetime, in this lifetime, hopefully, you're able to be like, damn, I want to change. I want to be a better person. So that's what I wish for everybody that has hurt me.
That's powerful. I don't know if I feel the same way towards my ex. He's currently sitting in prison for what he did to me. So I'm like, good for you because that's where you fucking belong. But yeah, it comes with the whole healing journey within ourselves and to be able to have that growth mindset. And like we said before, everyone's journey is different. If you never reach that point of like forgiveness or healing from whatever it is that you've gone through, that's okay too. But definitely holding on to those feelings of anger and resentment and all of that shit, that's not doing anything for your healing, it's only gonna hinder your growth. So definitely try to take the steps, however long it takes for you to be able to move forward from that. But it's still, at the end of the day, it's fuck you all day.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because I, like,
Yes.
again, I'd be lying if I didn't say, like, there was times that I'm like, yo, I hope he gets hit by a bus. Like, go play in traffic. So I definitely had my moments of like,
Yeah. We're humans. We have feelings. Yeah.
absolutely.
Not everything's fucking rainbows and butterflies, y'all, okay?
Exactly. Including the healing journey.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. All right. So, the last question: in the far future, when you're no longer on this living earth, someone has to sit down and write about Priscilla. What do you want them to say about you?
Leanne, with all these deep questions. Okay, girl, I see why you do this.
I got that question from TMZ. There was an interview with Lamar Odom, and that
Hmm.
was the last question that he asked him. And I was like, that's fucking powerful. I'm taking that. And that's going to be the last question for all my guests. So, yeah, let us know. What do you want people to say about you?
I want them to say that I was like living on my purpose, right? I want them to say that I was kind, that when they were around me, they felt good energy, that they felt seen, they felt valued, felt understood. Or maybe not even like fully understood, but like just accepted. Like I try to like we're all different, right? And I try to like just love everybody and be accepting. And also growing up in New York, like for me, that was like a melting pot. Like you're around people from all parts of the world. So yeah, I want them to say that. I want them to say that like they felt good and that I had good energy. And even with the work that I'm doing, I want for like people to be like, yeah, she was making the change that she wanted to see in the world. And she was that. And I think I'm intentional about what I'm doing now. And again, I'm not perfect because there's people that are going to be like, well, back then or in your past or whatever, like I'm not perfect. I am flawed, but I embrace that and it's made me who I am. And my intentions are pure and my intentions are genuine. And I just believe in abundance and I believe in like love and life for everybody. There's enough room for all of us to thrive. So
Yes. I couldn't think of a more perfect way to end this conversation. It's been so healing, so powerful. I know a lot of my listeners are going to want to know more about you and what you're working on. So please let them know how we can follow you, plug in your social media, any offerings that you have. Let us know where we can get more of your amazing energy.
oh, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I'm sad that it's coming to an end. For my business, Powerful Authentic Queen on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And then if you want to follow, like my personal page is on the Powerful Authentic Queen bio. Feel free to follow me there. I post a little bit more of like my personal life and journey there. But yeah, for more healing, empowerment, self love, self acceptance, self worth, Powerful Authentic Queen, check out the website as well. I am working on a course right now. I have like a beta version, so that's in my link in my bio on my personal page. So if anybody wants to like check that out, feel free to just reach out or DM me and stuff. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I love everything that you do, girl. Like when you're posting, I'm like, I want to share everything. I want to like it. I want to save it. So thank you for showing up the way you do and allowing us, right, to be able to use your platform to share our story and be able to be the change makers we want to be.
Oh, I appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing just a little bit about who you are. And thank you for the work that you're doing as well. I know you're helping so many people, and there's nothing but more abundance and more light and more healing in your life. And I can't wait to continue watching your journey. So thank you for doing this work, sis.
Oh my God, thank you. And same for you. Like, again, I love everything that you do. I love how you show up and you're authentic and you're you. Like, I love your energy. I love watching your
Thank
podcast and
you.
even like the pictures that you have. Like, you definitely give me like that up north vibe. And I love it. That's why I was so excited for this conversation. I'm like, I'm gonna be talking to like one of my girls, one of my homegirls.
Yes,
So
that's it. You a friend for life, sis. Thank you so much.